The people of the Motherland have arrived, and it's good that I am Superman of Doom Chapter 66. However, the 4 people who had been cooperating with him before did not react to this. Spider-Man's heart suddenly sank, his face turned pale, and he felt that the situation was completely beyond his control. Peter, you're naive. Norman, the Green Goblin, who had been weak and gentle before, suddenly smiled evilly. I think I am fighting for a divine moral mission. Unfortunately, we don't need your salvation and no treatment. Quote. Green Goblin Norman glanced around at the other villains. Our ability is not a curse, a flaw, but a miracle given by God. We can be in this world, get everything we want, and then go back or stay. No need for your mercy. Quote. As soon as the Green Goblin Norman's words fell, he quickly pounced on Spider-Man, crushing him down the corridor. The rest of the villains looked at each other, and the Electric Light Man rushed into the apartment room and walked towards the advanced maker machine. The Sandman hesitated for a moment, but still turned into sand and rushed towards May and Morgan. Damn, Peter Parker, you're so unreliable. Dr. Octopus gritted his teeth, not knowing which side to stand on, and wrestled with the AI-controlled octopus mechanical claws on the spot. Apartment downstairs. Poof. A large truck parked in front of the door, the closed iron door of the carriage suddenly cracked, and a green lizard monster jumped out of it, climbing quickly along the outer wall of the building. Something has changed. 5 supervillains, 4 against the water at the same time, making this building completely chaotic and in crisis. Corridor on the 16th floor. May heard the chaotic eruption behind her, so she hurriedly picked up Morgan and rushed towards the elevator, rushing into the elevator and slamming the door shut. Before the strong man catches up, the elevator door can be considered closed. It's okay, Morgan. I'll get you out of here safely. May hugged the little lowly tightly and comforted. Morgan did not look afraid, but looked at Dabai next to him. Dabai also followed into the elevator in time, just standing dumbly on the elevator next to him, and did not have time to program the program code to protect the owner. The elevator keeps going down. May was breathing a sigh of relief, but at this moment, the elevator trembled violently and came to a halt. Click. The originally closed elevator door was stretched open little by little, and a cloud of sand formed hands against the elevator portal. Give her to me. The sand also formed a strong man's face, leaned into the elevator, and opened his mouth to say, Hugh. May put Morgan behind her and punched the strong man's face, and his whole face suddenly exploded into sand. But the sand pouring into the elevator continued to condense, turning into a hand to bypass May and lean into the little lowly behind her. May hurriedly slapped Shah's arm off, but still couldn't stop Shah's hand. Morgan's back rested against the elevator wall, looked at the sand hand that was getting closer and closer, and subconsciously closed his eyes and shouted, "One." The next moment, a white shadow flashed, and both May and the Sandman were stunned. However, the large inflatable body suddenly hugged Lowly tightly, blocking the sand hand from the extremely elastic inflatable surface. Bah! Morgan opened his eyes, feeling the embrace and shelter of the inflatable body of the big white, and after saying the words that he had not had time to finish before, his eyes were covered with moisture. Mei Chang let out a sigh, secretly luckily protecting Dabai. But how did she know that this semi-finished white medical robot did not have an emergency protection procedure, and it should not move? It's him. Came back, little Laurie Morgan said softly inexplicably, rubbing the soft inflatable gas meter with her doll-like immature little face. Who? May was puzzled. The Sandman was shocked, felt a chill in his back, turned into sand and completely exited the elevator, causing the elevator door to close again. In the dark and silent elevator tunnel, the Sandman condensed into a half-human figure suspended in the air, and he looked at the sand outside, which had condensed into a pool of glass at this time. The Sandman looked up and saw a tall white figure completely passing through the outer wall of the building, looking down at him. Its electronic eyes appeared indifferent and red, and the chip in its eyebrows flashed with broken yellow light, looking down without any feeling, like a god in the mechanical realm. 0075 shot, with whom to compare the villain. In the dark elevator tunnel, a strong man made of sand suspended in the air, watching the white mechanical presence that blurred through the outer wall of the building and entered the tunnel above. The tall white mechanical body is made of unknown metal material, smooth and translucent, showing the curvature of the process assembly line with perfect human body and muscle curvature. A warm broken yellow light appeared on the half-penetrated built-in chip, which contrasted with a pair of cold electronic red light, and was directly suspended in the air without engine or flame brake. Advanced robots in the world here? Sandman Flint Marco's heart was inexplicably fixed. In his cognition, the robot's AI is limited. Even if the performance is strong, it must follow a fixed programming. After all, robots are just robots, and the control and dominance are in the hands of others. Thinking of this, the Sandman immediately raised his sandy hands up and motioned to the elevator stuck in the middle of the floor below. Let me go, I won't attack again. Quote, know that the other party has the means to deal with their own desertification. The Sandman was very simple, directly raised his hand to surrender for self-preservation, and said that he would not hurt the Morgan duo in the elevator again. Only, in the face of the actions and words of the Sandman, The white mechanical existence suspected of being a high-level robot in this world did not react at all, still looking down on him. Xia's face became solemn, thought about it, and said sincerely in a different tone, "Just now, I was just forced to do that for my daughter. Let me go. Don't show any intention to attack. Otherwise I can't guarantee what the consequences will happen to the tunnels and elevators here." Quote. Saying that, the Sandman's eyes sharpened, and the sand that turned into his palms was also rotating and flowing slightly, as if it would turn into a sandstorm in the tunnel at any time. Above the tunnel, the presence of white machinery remained stagnant, like a god. Only this time, hearing his words, the electronic eyes flashed with a hint of human banter, looking at him like looking at a garbage that was about to be cleaned up. The Sandman was shocked, and for a moment he almost suspected that he was wrong, and an extremely ominous premonition surged in his heart again. But at this time, boom! Stuck under the elevator car on the 10th floor of the elevator tunnel, on the 7th floor, a large lizard monster suddenly broke through the elevator portal. The beast's eyes flashed green and faint hunting pupils, and the thick limbs crawled quickly along the inner wall of the tunnel, and soon arrived directly at the location of the elevator car. Opportunity. The Sandman was overjoyed in his heart, and he did not have the slightest hesitation at this moment, turning into a small storm of sand and dust and drilling towards the gap in the tunnel. He didn't even have the idea of joining forces with the supervillain lizardmen, but followed his foreboding and chose to flee the scene. I have to say that after the arrival of the White Vision dream, the Sandman's cautious and self-preservation choices were correct. The only pity is that he met Meng. In this world, it is also in the ranks of supervillains, replacing Meng, who harnesses artificial intelligence, with human thinking. With a whistling sound, just before the sandstorm formed by the Sandman is about to leave through the gap in the tunnel. A strong flame suddenly gushed out from above, and the red flame immediately covered the sand under the wind. And the high temperature made the sand turned into by the Sandman directly melt into semi-permeable glass water. Yes, sand can also melt, with a melting point of around 1600 degrees Celsius. Quadruple A. The Sandman's sanded body continued to melt under the high temperature of the flames, emitting a male scream. He looked up in disbelief at the white mechanical presence above with his mechanical left hand, which spewed hot flames downwards. The Sandman never expected that in the face of the current situation, this advanced robot would still strike at him at the first time. Isn't such a high-temperature flame afraid of endangering the two people in the same tunnel elevator car? In addition, the lizardman below is also crawling towards the elevator car, which is enough to endanger the lives of the two people in the elevator. Could it have been his guess from the beginning that this advanced robot was not there to protect Morgan Stark? The Sandman was no longer able to think. The sandified body was all turned into glass water by the high-temperature flames. And the last thought in his mind was regret for coming to this world and his daughter's voice. Laugh at. White Vision Meng stopped the flame spray in his left palm, then raised his white mechanical right hand, and a fast-cooling ice mist seamlessly connected, condensing the glass water into a real glass body. Meanwhile, the elevator car that had been stuck under the tunnel had already accelerated down, and while staying away from the high-temperature flames above, the bottom of the elevator slammed into the lizard men crawling along the inner wall of the tunnel. Boom! The glass body made of the Sandman's body breaks in the tunnel, and the lizardman is also knocked down by the suddenly descending elevator. At this time, the inside of the elevator carriage. The inflatable body of the medical robot Dabai Fat Round and Simple held Morgan tightly in his arms, like a white sphere bumping violently with the elevator, making her almost unscathed. May also hugged Dabai's arm tightly, relying on inflatable elasticity, and only suffered a slight injury. May was terrified and wanted to open her mouth to comfort Morgan. Unexpectedly, little Lori Morgan did not show a scared expression throughout the whole process, and was unusually calm in Dabai's arms, and even comforted her with childish words. The teacher is here, we will be fine. Quote. Teacher? What teacher? May became more and more confused. First